episode of the Red Pill Conversations. My name is Tracey and karibuni sana. I'm sitting on very good quality seats. Viti sijiski kuamka hapa. And they've been made by none other than Hodari Fabrications. Hawa watu, ukiruka kwa our other show Beyond the Pulpit, utaona kuna vitu zingine. Hizo pia ni kali na ni hawa wametengeneza. Kuna hizi pia which is really good quality. Zimebeba watu wanasema ni mzito, so you can know that they've been made with good raw materials, the vitu quality. So thank you Hodari for sponsoring our video today. I know we are going to do many more collabs. Mtatuletea vitu zingine and other furnitures. So if you want any piece of furniture done at a gates, they do even metal work. So contact them down below. There is their number, their Instagram channel. You can just call them up and they do amazing jobs. Nakwambia hakuna mtu ametengenezwa kitu na Hodari anaweza sema iko na sifa mbaya, si ndio? Hakuna. They listen to you. Juu wewe ndo client unawaletea do, so trust me. Mimi niko about to ring their number. I need something made for me. So thank you so much Hodari. You can get yourself seats, anything that you need from Hodari. Yeah, let's get into our conversation. Like, you know, our segment is called The Red Pill, where we talk about things that are not in the ideal world. We are here to learn and to uncondition our minds the way they've been conditioned, all right? So our first episode, we're going to talk about finances. And I think it's essential, even as Christians, to have this conversation so that we can know how to relate with money. We've heard of people saying money is the root of evil. So as Christians, how are we supposed to have this relationship with money? How are we supposed to use this resource? Is it a resource?
Yeah.
It's a resource. How are we supposed to relate with these things so that it can be good to us and you can be good to it? How do you attract value? He likes talking about value. So yeah, we are going to talk about all of that. And we have Silas, who is my co-host. And someone who is really passionate. Please, he is not an expert on matters finances. Well, amefanya accounts. Kwa hivyo unaweza muita kubalansie books. Ama atafi. Unaweza muita kubalansie.
We can start for free alafu then tutalipishana. Hatutakosana.
Tutapata nyuma ya tent.
Hatutakosana.
Well, he's not an expert on these matters, but he's someone who is really passionate. When you sit down with Silas, he will not lack an opportunity to talk about money and how you have to relate with money, how to save, how to budget, and all of that. Now we are going to bring in the Christian aspect, the biblical aspects of finances, matters finances, because the Bible talks about literally everything. So as Christians, let's have this conversation. Let's not live in a very rosy world. Let's know how to do this thing. So yeah, I'm excited. Karibu.
Asante.
Leo nakaribishwa kama guest stroke co-host. Hapo. Itaandikwa guest stroke co-host.
Asante.
Ndio more knowledgeable. Yeah, sindio?
Yeah.
Okay. So with money and as Christians, tell us. To show how are we supposed to do this thing?
Actually, can you quote 1 Timothy? I think chapter 6. It's not that money is the root of all evil, but the love of money is the root of all evil.
Okay.
As Christians, we say money is good when it is in the wallet, not in the heart. Okay. So what the Bible forbids us, or what the Bible talks about mostly, that we refrain from, is money being in the heart.
Okay.
It should be in the wallet because we need it. As a matter of fact, the Bible has, I'm looking at my msema ukweli, the Bible has 2,300 verses that talk about money, wealth, and possessions. 2,300 verses. I think out of a possible 35,000 of verses, 2,300 have been dedicated towards money. There is talks on stewardship, because the Bible says that God owns cattle upon 1,000 hills. Silver and gold belongs to him, and all that. So Christians, yes, should be concerned about money because it is a resource that we use in this world to get by. Everyone needs money. So if everyone needs money, and God has dedicated 2,300 verses to talk about money and wealth and stewardship. There are topics like stewardship, you find it in Matthew, generosity, giving to the poor, that's still an issue of resources. We have contentment, we have warnings about greed, we have trusting God over our wealth. So yes, the Bible addresses this topic, and I feel that, or I don't feel, I think, and I know that Christians should be concerned about this topic. They should be concerned about how to handle money. They should be concerned about how to relate with money. Yes.
I know we're going to mention it, but unajua tunaambiwa usiweke mali yako, store up your riches in heaven. So unashinda kosa nikae hii dunia nikidu, you know. So I know we're going to get into that.
Yeah.
We've said you're not an expert, but let's go back to how your relationship with money started. What was your wake up point? When did you realize, cheki, hiki tu ni serious ama ninatumia pesa vibaya, I need to start getting very cautious about how I'm spending money?
Initially, I was that Christian who believed that money is not important. We should only think about heaven, never talk about money. Money is evil. I was that Christian.
Okay.
Money is so evil. I used to feel bad when I look at people with money who are Christians. I used to judge them and think that hawapendi Mungu, just because they have money.
Yeah.
But my perception has really changed over time. When I look at this resource, when I see the greed, when I see how Christians relate to it, and even how I related to it myself. Because I'm telling you, you cannot teach experience.
You cannot. You have to experience it, lol.
I have gone through a lot.
Yeah.
I can say, like Paul said, that I know what it is to abound or to have in plenty. I know what it is to abase or to not have. And I have been in both spectrum, where I have lacked money, kabisa, and I've been in a place where I have touched money, not kabisa,
okay,
but I have touched. I can see kabisa, I have just touched.
You've touched enough.
No, it will never be enough, but just touched.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So, there are principles to deal with money. Just like there are principles to live in this world. Just like we have laws. We have our own laws. How to relate to your neighbor. How to drive in our traffic. By the way, drivers. Aki. Road rage. We have laws.
Yeah.
So the topic of money also has principles. There are principles that apply to money that if we follow those principles, then we're going to have a better relationship with money than we usually have. It is usually sad when we Christians say that our God owns everything, yet we are the people who never really relate very well with especially guys in ministry. I have come to see that they're the people who struggle the most when it comes to money matters. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Now you've talked about principles. The principles of how to relate with money, how you've applied them in your personal life, because I think we people learn better from other people's experiences. At least that's what a smart person does.
Yeah.
So yes, let's get into the principles of money. And imetonga kudecipher. Nilikuwa nataka kutumia jina yangu.
Decipher the principles.
Decipher them. Yeah.
This is an unwritten principle, and I think this is a personal principle. Money is good in the pocket or in the wallet, but money should not be in the heart. When it is in the heart, it corrupts you. Or you can become easily corrupted when it is in the heart. money is a means to facilitate you.
Yeah.
These podcasts cannot be made possible without that resource. It is the resource that has made us even have this platform where we can be able to share these things.
Yeah.
So that is my major principle. Let it be in the pocket, not in the heart. When it is in the pocket and not the heart, generosity is inatokea. You'll be generous. You'll be someone who still does not, the verse that you are quoting about laying up treasures in heaven, you will not serve, worship. There are people who their entire life is about money. Their entire life is about getting it. And you can see how people behave. You can see how our young girls are behaving on account of money. You can see the advice that guys are giving to people, even in relationships, just because of money. So that is my principle, that money is good in the wallet, not in the heart.
There's a famous saying, people, even in movies, unasikianga tu watasemanga, everybody has a price. That is what happens when you wake up money in the heart. Because now, when someone says everybody has a price, they know that wewe ukishapatiwa pesa, they can do anything. Anything that is even what is. Okay, let's not talk about our government.
Actually, when you say I think everyone has a price.
Really?
Okay. Not talking about bribe per se, but when it comes to finances and money, there's that money that would raise your taste buds.
Of course.
There's that you not even look at. There is that you would, like right now in my employment, when you say everyone has a price, I'm very loyal to my job, but there is an offer I can get that you can't refuse. It's an offer you cannot refuse. That is to say, not the love of it. When it gets to the heart is where you become greedy. What you see our people do, guys are given positions and it's all about enriching themselves. Guys in church stealing money from church to have it for their own personal benefit. That's when now it has gotten to the heart.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But everybody, it's not a negative. Okay. Where I've had it, and in the context where I've had it, it's always
it was a negative one.
Everybody
is usually negative.
Lipo huyu msee ataachana na hii kitu, ama lipo msee tutajenga barabara ndani ya nyumba yake. Lol. So it's interesting that you've been able to put that away. Another principle that maybe you live by, umesema hiyo ya put money in the wallet, not in the heart.
Another principle is that money is a means to an end and not an end in itself. If you look at Solomon, who had all the wealth he could, you look at guys like Abraham in the Bible, they had a lot of money, but money does not satisfy. It's not an end in itself, it's a means to an end. You believe that I want to get this particular money, I want to earn this particular salary in this particular job. When you get there, you'll realize that you'll always want more. So it's a means to an end. So the more God blesses you, or the more God gives you, the more good you should do. Money is a resource that God provides for us by His grace. So if God has been gracious to you financially, you're supposed to extend that grace. We are only but custodians of money. We don't own anything. And to prove to you that you don't own anything, you die, you get into a box, that money goes to somebody else. Whether you like it or not. It doesn't matter how much you have. So it's not an end in itself. It's a means to an end.
Don't look at money as it.
And money can be used for good. Money can be used to glorify God. This is an example of us using money to educate guys and tell them about what Scripture says about money. Maybe there's someone out there who has the perception that I had, that money in and of itself is an evil thing. But if we can be able to bring out scriptures that show that money in and of itself, it's like guns. People talk about guns. Do guns kill people or do people kill people?
People kill people.
If you put a gun here and you leave it for 10 years, in 10 years you'll not have anyone die on account of that gun. So it's people who kill people. So money in and of itself is not the evil. It is people wielding the money who get into that evil. And we need to know the difference.
I really like the gun example that you've used. I've never thought about it. I've never even had anyone think about it. So check your heart. Check, are you evil or is money evil? It is you. It is you. Check your heart. Okay. Do you have another principle, Lama?
No. Let's start with those two
let's
for
start
now.
With those two. Okay. We've heard about, I want to bring in tithing and giving and all of that. We're told to give in church. We're told to tithe, offering, generosity. You talked about generosity and stewardship.
Yeah.
How should we, as Christians, behave with money? When we have money, how are we supposed to relate to this thing now? When it comes to tithing, when it comes to giving and stewarding. Yeah. Msishtuke anaangalia. We are very serious people.
We are very serious about reference.
Yeah, we don't want to.
Tithing, the 10%, I believe that in the Old Testament, tithing was just giving the 10% of your earnings or whatever you get to the Lord. And you're not giving to God because God is needy.
No, he's not.
My friend, our God doesn't need your money.
He does not.
If you have a mentality that you're giving to God, God does not need your money. Tithes were given. It was a means of facilitating the running. The 10% were given ukipeleka kwa temple or ama ukipeleka when you're giving. It's a resource that is used within that concept of or that setup of giving. And in the Old Testament kulikuwa na the 10% of whatever you earn. I believe that the New Testament raised the bar even higher. Because in Corinthians the Bible says God loves a cheerful giver. So in the New Testament, I think we are removed from the traditional lazima 10% to cheerful giving. You know, cheerful giving is cheerful giving. Yeah. Cheerful giving means you can give 10% as an obligation. I am obliged. It's like the way you're paying taxes. It's an obligation you're supposed to pay, and you're actually paying it. But when it comes to giving cheerfully and generously, then the bar has been raised even higher. Then that means that the New Testament Christians, and we are the New Testament Christians, that we should give even more. We should go beyond that 10%. And that 10%, by the way, is used to run the church. True. It is what pays pastors. I've had guys ask, hizi pesa watu wanapenda kutuitisha pesa. How does the church run? The church runs the way the country runs, with its citizens as the church members. The church members give. You can either choose to give the 10%, because I think the New Testament requirement is not a requirement. You can choose to give 10%, you can choose to give 50%, you can choose to give 100%. But what it will be used for, the lights, the microphones, the guys operating the instruments,
even the people
the pastor, the pastor is paid. Where does he get his salary? It is the church members who pay the pastor. So money is given. That is, it facilitates work in the church. So I believe the bar has been raised even higher from the 10% to generous giving, because generous giving means you do exceeding above and beyond. Imagine if I confide myself to 10%, I'd only give that 10% out of my salary. Anyone who is in need, I just thought.
By the way,
generous giving means I have given, yes, let's say I've tithed, but somebody is in need of school fees. I need to provide that. Somebody is in need of something I need to provide. So the bar has been raised even higher. So
with giving, it's not necessarily giving in church, it's also helping the ones around you.
Yes, because why else would God provide for us?
How should my faith influence my thinking about money?
When you have in abundance, when you have little money, it should be a reason, or your attitude should be, I need to work hard. I need to work harder. When you don't have and you are relating and interacting with people who have money, don't hate them. They're not better than you or anything. You just need to work hard. As a matter of fact, I say this. The people I choose as friends are people who are where I want to be.
Not where you are.
Not where I am.
Not where you
Not
are.
where I was. and sadly, that looks like huyu jamaa anajifanya. How do I relate with those people? I sit down with them and I ask them. They know something about money. They have done something that seems to work. That's why they have it. So I should treat them as a school and go and learn as much as I can from them about this topic on money. Now, when you have, you should not use it to brag. You should not use it to look down on other people. It's a very bad thing. I actually say, if you want to know the real makings of a man, and by man I mean male and female, if you want to know a real person or a real man, what they're made of, give them a power, give them money. Money brings out our character. A stingy person who is poor will be stingy when they are rich. A generous person who is poor will be generous when they are rich. So that relationship, now this rich person, they have an obligation, and the Bible tells us in 1 Timothy, to be good in good deeds. To use that money for good. To give more. I have learned giving from a friend of mine. Hey, there's a friend of mine called Miano.
He's a cheerful giver.
Hey, more than. I have not seen someone who gives that much. I actually, now look at how I've related to him giving. The more he gives, the more I'm challenged to give. And so I tell myself, this guy has been giving all his life. He's never lacked. So when God gives me, I will continue giving. And by the way, the only secret to having is giving. I think that is why those rich people are philanthropists. That's they learn that principle. So it's in the, I think it's in the Richest Man in Babylon, that book. Inasema that it's like an 11th commandment that disappeared along the way when Moses was giving a commandment. A generosity. God rewards those people. I have never seen a generous person lack. Never in my life. If you're a generous person who lacks because of your generosity, please the number,
us.
kuna number hapo. Tell us, teach us your ways.
Tutakuleta kwa podcast to share story juu kama utakuwa na story ya show.
I have never seen a giver lack.
Nilikuwa na swali lakini ikapotea wa. It was in the lines of the parable of the talents.
Yes.
I think that one we can talk about the parable of the talents. The one was given 5, another one was given 2,
and the other one 1.
Yes. That one is a clear example of stewardship of money.
Yes.
Or of possession. And
yes.
Now let's talk about that parable. Vizuri. Juu watu wanaisomanga na unaambiangwa mwenye alikuwa na 5 aliwork hard kapata 10, huyu wa 2 aliwork hard zikakuwa 4. Huyu mmoja alienda akaficha, akaichimba na ikakuja sijui kanyang'anywa. That shows that how people do relate with money. Huyu mwenye akona kidogo haoni that you can actually use it and get more. The one with 2 worked. The one with 5, maskini that saying inapanga kweli. Maskini atazidi kuwa maskini na tajiri atajirike zaidi.
We never win by mistake. I like to use examples of the gym. You don't get buffed. You don't get misuli. I was looking at my hand. You don't get muscles by accident. It is deliberate. It is through discipline. It is through hard work. Whether or not you're motivated. By the way, motivation is nothing. I had motivation the first week I started gym. It ended that week. By the end of that week, motivation had ended. Discipline. So money has its own discipline. Just like you cannot be buffed by accident, you have to apply the disciplines. Disciplines of eating well. You have to eat well. You have to eat a certain way, which is different from the way your ordinary mwananchi eats.
Yeah, Tracey eats.
Yeah, you have to train a certain way. You have to lift certain amounts of weight. You have to do it well, because again, you do it badly, you risk injury. So there are principles. And that is the same with money. Money has principles, it has discipline. Yeah.
Let's talk about your financial experience, your personal experience with dealing with finances. And I think from that you can derive the common mistakes that Silas made when handling finances, so that someone can learn. I know what I learn. Pesa ni mzuri. Ukikuwa nayo, pesa ni sabuni ya roho. Lakini we do misuse money. We really do misuse money. So let's talk about the common mistakes that Silas made when handling finances. The many millions that you earned when you were working at Upwork, and how you misused it, and then now how to manage that.
Kere. Ni kitambo.
You're just bata Kenya. Na unalipa taxes. Waambie unalipa taxes.
Nalipa taxes mbaya.
Wanaweza angalia kwa computer.
But ni kitambo. Ni story. This is just a story. Hypothetically. Allegedly.
He was an alleged millionaire.
Now, I have made so many mistakes with money. First of all, I've told you, part of my problem was I was this kind of people who thought that money in and of itself is an evil thing. And that a person who identifies with God should not really be concerned about money. That was my greatest mistake. I did online work, and I used to get good money. I come from a background, poverty per se. We were not wealthy. I have come from a lack background where we've struggled financially. I left my parents' home when I was 18 years, just immediately after, 17 years actually, immediately after high school. I just left his house and started getting money. So since from living that life of lack, when I started earning money, I went on a revenge mission. I shall possess everything that I have always been wanting to possess.
Oh, whatever your heart desires.
Whatever my heart desires and whatever money I have in my pocket must be spent. I spent 100% of what I earned.
100%.
That is mistake number one.
100%.
100%. If I have 1,000 bob, after a while I will have 0 bob. There are times I would have 50,000 on my pocket and I have 0. That is a sin, a financial sin.
Where?
Do not spend everything. In fact, with money, we say, do not live within your means. You know, the advice, actually, blue pill advice. Blue pill advice. Now we are getting into the red pill, blue pill. Blue pill advice is live within your means. Living within your means that you spend and you spend what you can afford.
Yeah.
Let's say I earn 100,000, I spend 30,000 on rent. I spend the rest until by the end of that checkbook I have 0.
That's within your means.
That is living within your means.
Afford.
You can afford it and you live paycheck
to paycheck.
If your job goes, you are gone.
Yeah. True.
Red pill finances, we should live below our means. We should strive to live below. Within is broke. Below is where you should strive to be. If you're earning 100,000, don't have 100,000 as your expenses.
No. Be smart.
Do you know I have friends who live like that?
You really talk about this.
I have a friend where ukiwatch see where I'm just for it's for example. No, it's for example, It's for example purposes.
Just for laughs.
This guy spends 100% of what he earns. By 27th, 26th,
anangoja bank.
Silas nitumie 5,000 nitakurudishia urgently.
Send me 5k urgently.
5k. Na atakuitisha hiyo 5k mara 3. tumia hiyo 5k nitakurudishia. That means if this person's salary is delayed by a week,
analalanja.
They're gone. Analalanja.
Ama hata kama landlord ni mbaya anaekewa kufuli.
I used to be that guy. That was Silas par excellence. I used to know how to spend. Yeah. You know, spending does not require skill.
Spending is not an issue.
Spending does not require a skill.
Yeah.
Live below your means. So I used to spend everything. Oh man, I love shoes. I love shoes.
Ebu tell them. Ebu just tell them.
I love shoes. And I have a story because of these shoes. One day someone donated shoes during that time when I was in luck. They donated shoes to me. And they went around spreading
that they have given you shoes.
No, alinipatia kiatu imetoboka hapa chini. Alinipatia kiatu imetoboka hapa chini. Ukikanyaga maji inaingia kwa socks. But then again they went and spoke about it. When I heard it I was so mad. I felt so disappointed. What I did is I gave out the shoe. I didn't have any other shoe. My shoe ilikuwa unajua venye umekanyaga sole mpaka inaanza kulala hivi.
Walimu wa mathematics walikuanga na hiyo shida.
Walimu wa maths badilisha kiatu.
Walimu wa maths
budget. Walimu wa maths budget. Kuna viatu. There is a shoe for every income bracket.
True. That is so true.
There is a shoe for every income bracket.
So
so I used to buy shoes. I went on a spending spree.
Tell them how many pairs you had. Just
anyway,
putting it out there.
No. It was acha niseme pole. Wasisikie. Anyway, I got to a point I had 380
pairs.
Like I could put on a shoe from January 1st to December
bila ku
31st bila ku repeat. May the Lord have mercy on me. Forgive me. Forgive me. Because these are sins I would never commit again.
Yeah.
These are sins I would never commit again. So I went on a spending spree. I bought clothes. My budget was just clothes. I used to dress in a very flashy way. That's a serious money killer. We have people like that. We get very excited when money gets into our pocket. We spend even before we get it.
Hey, kwanza watu wa kubudget ya pesa
hazijafika. Kama ukifanya biashara unaibudgetia you're expecting 60,000, you even go and take a loan for 60,000 and spend it. By the time 60,000 is coming, you're broke. So now what you do, you start zungusha in the creditor. Na CRB. I actually say nilikuwa na membership. Nilikuwa na membership CRB. So those are the mistakes that I made. Again, I've ever made a mistake of there was a time I was earning 13,000 shillings. I moved into a house 10,000 shillings. My friend, that is like 80% of what you're earning on rent. You've not counted food.
Silas, 13,000 na rent ni 10k.
Na rent ni 10k.
Budget hiyo ingine ni 3k.
Ebu imagine I was living in a one bedroom. Imagine your one bedroom. Ilikuwa enzi zake those the year 2010 huko. Houses were not as expensive as they are right now. It was a very nice one. It was a one bedroom but with a toilet and a bathroom in the bedroom. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a master. Yeah. Imagine. I went to that house. That was kitambo sana when I think our West was coming up. And I used to be broke all the time. How do you expect to earn 13 and when my earnings increased, I moved to another bigger house. That's what I used to do. So people who behave like that, yes, people who behave like that are always broke. That's why you'll find you can have a colleague who earns even more than you, but they are always broke. And you wonder, why are these people always broke? So that was a mistake that I did. Yes.
Akona savings. Unajua story imenishtua. At all. What is living? Umesema now living within your means. Living below is unatafuta. Let's say for example, salary ni 100,000. Kuna theories nyingi za how much you should pay for rent. How do you calculate that math? Yeah, rent inafaa kwa what percentage of your income?
You are very safe if your rent is 30% of what you want.
30%.
You are very safe. That's how to calculate where to live. My friend who lives lavishly lives in those affluent estates. I don't live in the affluent estates.
Yeah.
And not that I can't afford to live there.
Yeah.
But my salary, I calculate at least 30%. That's what I pay for rent. And if I can get below, like I live below 30%. My rent is below that. I think I pay. No, people calculate my salary. Yeah. Those people know where I live.
Yeah.
But it's below 30%.
Wow.
So my rent is low. Sometimes when I'm paying my rent, I don't even realize it. Yeah.
It's a drop in the ocean.
Yes. But imagine there's another person earning the same amount that I'm earning right now, and they live in
Kilimani,
in those. Yes. That means that you'll always be broke. You'll never develop. You'll never do things that you like. This is I like doing podcast. I like podcasting. This would never be possible if you live within
or above.
Live below. Strive to live below your means. Yes. And when you're living, save fast. Ama tujafika hapo kwa.
No, that is the next question. Yeah, savings, the saving culture and investments and all of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that is one. Live below your means. Number 2, human beings. Stop brands.
What?
The Gucci. I have a Louis Vuitton. Yes, ama doiri sasa. Kuna Gucci. Abibas.
Balenciaga.
There are people who are so fixated and obsessed with brands. Funny bit. I might be wrong. If there is anyone who does this, I have met CEOs of big companies. Some of them big companies. I've never seen a rich person. I don't have a rich person around me who puts on those name brands.
Yeah.
Those name brands are overpriced.
Super.
I telling
totally
you,
agree.
they are expensive. You start that lifestyle and chasing after technology. iPhone 16 imetokea. You want to show us you have an iPhone 16. You bought your iPhone 16 at 160K. I will buy it at 40,000. I'll buy it then and still have an iPhone 16. I like playing games.
Yeah.
PlayStation ikikam. May wait.
Yeah.
There are guys who queue ikitoka heavy.
They have to have it.
And they queue and pay a premium on it, while you can wait a few months. And actually with the increase in technology and information, just wait a few months and buy it cheaper. Because you'll have the same experience.
Yeah.
You'll have the exact same experience as them.
At a cheaper price.
At a cheaper price.
Way cheaper price.
Money, don't spend too much on... by the way, I wanted to say, you have to know the difference between needs and wants. Yeah, you have to separate.
That helps with spending now.
That helps with spending. Before you buy anything, this is what you should ask yourself. Is this a need? A need is something you cannot live without. Housing is a need.
Yeah.
Clothing is a need.
Yeah.
Food is a need. Is it a need or is it a want? A brand watch is a want. So don't spend a lot of money on wants. You are allowed to sin kidogo on needs. Kidogo, but not very much. But always prioritize needs over wants. So your rent should be 30% to answer that question.
Oh, okay. Needs and wants. How to... A lot of times, even when you're doing that, it's not necessary. It's not something that... It's not compulsory. You'll actually survive without it. You don't have to buy that watch. Na hiyo pia CEOs is true.
Yeah.
You see how huyu wa Meta, what's his name? Zuckerberg. Anavanga t-shirt. Kwanza nakaanga imechaka.
Yeah.
And some really grey pants.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's his life.
My boss puts on beige or black pants and a black t-shirt.
That's it.
He told me he has many of those black t-shirts and black, so that he doesn't have to choose what to wear.
And that's a boss.
Yeah.
Unataka kuvaa
Sisi
Christian
tumepiga maneno.
Louboutins. Na ma Nike, ma Jordan.
Yes.
Watch yourself.
It's a sin because you'll be broke.
Yeah.
And you'll go broke trying to impress people who don't really care.
Really?
Newsflash, people don't really care about your life.
And you like talking about is it influencers and socialites and all of this, people who love living lavishly.
Yeah.
They do end up becoming broke because they want to maintain a certain lifestyle.
Yes, and I can tell you, when I was growing up, there used to be socialites. I will tell you for a fact, none of them appears on camera.
Right now.
They used to flash. They used to live flashy lifestyle. There was a time there's this guy, when the bottled waters zilikuwa zinatokea. Unajua kuna time zilikuwa zinatokea? Kuna time they were a thing. Kama Dasani, like those bottled waters.
Okay.
Someone washed his Range Rover na Dasani. Like that water, by the
Dasani
way, at that time,
expensive at the time. It's expensive.
There was no other company that was giving canned water. In fact, I remember there was a gig in church and we invited someone and that was their request. Was it in church? No, I don't know where. I can't remember where. Nataka maji ya Dasani. It was conditioned. Somebody was washing the car with. You see these guys who flash.
Yeah.
Hey, money doesn't. Watu, sad to say, sorry to say. Let's see them after 10 years. Give them time. Give them time to be lavish. Give them time. It ends. And you cannot sin against the principles of money and survive. It ends. We have seen billionaires go down. We have seen empires collapse. Have you seen politicians who are very rich die and their estate goes into waste?
Kuna wenye wanakwanga koti hadi wa leo when the man died 10 years ago.
Yes. Money doesn't like those behaviors. Forget name brands. Forget running after technology. Live below your means. Yeah.
Okay, that's well said. That is well said. Wait. Let's talk about budgeting.
Yes.
We've heard about so many rules of budgeting and saving. Budgeting, saving, and investment. Those things are tied because once you start earning money, these are things that you're supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about proper budgeting, how you should save, why should I save, why should I budget, where and how to invest. This is where you plug the common companies that you plug. I know them because he has mentioned them quite some time. So let's talk about budgeting and saving and investment. Budgeting. How am I supposed to budget? Joto nasemanga msharangu ni kidogo sana uwezi budget.
I read in a book that says a budget, by definition, is you telling your money where it should go rather than wondering where your money went.
Smart. Put that on a t-shirt.
A budget is you telling your money where to go rather than wondering where your money went. Wow. A budget, like I have told you, nobody wins by mistake. Winning is strategy. If you read The Art of War by Sun Tzu, you have to strategize. And a budget is one of the strategies for winning. A budget is where you say, this amount I will dedicate it to this particular item. This one will pay this particular item. This one will go here. And you create a system where your money now falls into place. And that is what every Christian or every individual should do. You must have a budget. You must have a budget. Wars are won at the table.
Not in the battlefield.
Not in the battlefield. A winner wins at the planning phase and then goes to fight. Iko kwa hiyo the art of war. A loser goes to fight and then hoping to win. You spending your money just like that means that you're going to fight hoping that you will one day win. But if you have a budget, you direct your money. Like for example, when you ask yourself, when you say 30% of my income is going to go towards my rent, that's a small budget because you have to actually calculate.
Yeah.
You have to group your expenses and your incomes. You have to know. There are people who don't know how much money they bring in.
Personally, I don't.
Yes.
I don't know my expenses and I don't know my income.
You have to know. You have to know. You'll realize you have a lot of money. You will realize that you actually, a lot of money passes by your hand.
Yeah.
Money is so fluid that you might not even notice when it is passing by your hands. Because spending it is, you can spend very fast and money depletes very quickly. So you must have a budget. When you have a budget, like this is what I do. You have to pay yourself first. When you receive your salary,
unajilipa.
You have to pay yourself first. No, when you're doing business also, salary you're already paid.
Yeah.
Paying yourself first means that my money first goes towards savings and investment. That's priority number one for me. When I get, let's for example purposes, let's say I earn 100,000 shillings. When I earn 100,000, I don't know.
Just pay that.
Yeah. When I earn my 100,000, let's say I've given myself 30% for rent. I'm left with 70%. Yeah. I can tell myself I'll do 20% savings and investments. So before I even pay my rent, I save. Your 20%, it goes towards investments. We have the money market funds. You can buy shares. You can do all those things. We'll talk about them in detail if we'll again when we have another episode of this finances. Of finances. Yeah. So you invest fast, save fast, because saving is cushioning yourself for future against future risks, because there are future risks you cannot tell. You can get sick.
You don't plan sickness.
You don't plan sickness.
You don't plan floods.
If you're driving, you don't plan for an accident. That's why it's called an accident. The assumption is that it was not on purpose. Otherwise it would be called a non-purpose. So you can go and hit a wall or hit another person's car and you're required to pay. Where do you get money to pay? You don't go to your 30% that you're supposed to pay your house rent, and then you go and pay somebody else's car expenses. So you pay yourself first. You invest first. When you do that, you will find that it's called the power of compounding. Compounding is where money increases or appreciates over time. By the way, I discourage people from putting money in a bank. It's useless and it's not making you anything. Put money where it is earning. Behave like the person with 5 talents and the person with 2. They went and increased. Make sure that your money is working towards. There's someone who said money is like an army. Is your army. You send it to battle to go and bring captives in the name of other monies.
Oh wow.
In the name of other money. So how many soldiers do you have in your army?
Hey.
How big is your army?
Is it?
you see?
Yeah.
So if you have 100,000 soldiers,
you have 100,000. Yeah.
Go send them. Let them bring back even 10,000 more. You have 110.
And a bank won't do that for you.
A bank won't do that. A bank would give you money. It would give you interest out of, that rate is almost negligible.
Yeah.
You'll never do anything. Put it in mutual funds, in money market accounts, where that money increases. By the way, money market, I think by now, it's offering interest rates at 14%.
Yeah.
If you put 100,000 right now, you will have 114,000 by the end of the year. Over 10 years, over 20 years, that's another wonder. The power of compounding, where it increases. So you must do that. Number 3, we've talked about number 2, tumeongea about your number 1, tumesema tuachana name brands. To lipe rent a certain percentage, to live below our means. Number 3, I think when it comes to that discipline of investment, I'm losing my train of thought. I'm losing my train of thought.
Investing. You're talking about budgeting.
Yes, we're talking about budgeting and investing. A business one way or another.
We've seen the mushrooming of businesses in this country.
Oh, before I've remembered.
Okay.
I was telling people, don't get, as another principle, don't get into quick money or easy money making schemes. They are a scam. They don't work. Or if they work, they work at a very high price.
Yeah.
Very high price. If you start credit card fraud, you'll die. Don't we see people just being picked dead?
Dying.
Don't we see these young people who are driving very lavish? I'm not saying that there are no young people who can have money. There are there. But money must be earned legitimately.
And if someone cannot account for how they are making the money, book question.
How many people are scammed in terms of when the money market interest rate right now is at 14% per annum. That's 14% per year.
Yeah.
Then you hear somebody telling you that I'll give you 30%. It is not possible. It's not practical. It is not real. There is no way you can there is no shortcut to wealth. There is no shortcut. Wealth that is gained through shortcuts is short-lived.
It's short-lived.
It is usually short-lived.
We are seeing it.
Yes, and never be envious about those people.
And this this car that pull Subaru. Yeah,
hata Subaru ni kidogo. There are guys who drive cars. There are guys driving Lamborghinis in Kenya. I'm not saying that they've not gotten their money genuinely. I don't know how they've gotten their money. I will not dare to speak for them or judge them. Yeah. But I'm saying, if you go to these schemes, you'll end up becoming a swindler.
What are pyramid schemes?
Pyramid schemes, they collapse. That's why they are called pyramid schemes.
Nigani exists.
Boss,
but
run away. Anytime someone tells you that there is an easy and a quick way to make money, they are lying. That's how to tell whether they are lying.
Escape.
Hata Instagram naonanga vitu mob sana. You can make this. I made $10,000 in a month.
Yes.
My friend, $10,000. You don't just make it like that.
Do you know how many times I get messages of join us and learn how to make 9,000 shillings a day.
Nonsense.
Per day, 9,000 bob per day, and it's not legit.
It's not easy. Money grows gradually. It is something that comes slowly. It is a discipline that you pick up. You learn, you lose money, you gain money, you learn the principles. So don't go into those schemes. The other mistake people make, remember, let me just finish this train of thought, is going to debt. Taking debts for consumption.
Yeah.
That is a sin. That is a financial sin.
I think you need to go and talk to our government because they also take loans to pay their civil servants. Ndio maana tuko na deni ya matrilioni ya pesa.
Loans are not meant for recurrent expenditure. Yeah. Loans are not meant for consumption. Loans are supposed to be used for development. Business people, hear me, hear thee, hear O ye, thy businessmen. Thou shalt never in thine heart take a loan to start a business.
Hoping that you'll pay it back.
Don't take a loan to start a new venture.
Why?
I am a guy of startups.
Yeah.
I have done many startups. I enjoy startups. Even this podcast is a startup.
Yes.
I enjoy startups.
Yeah.
I enjoy seeing things grow. I think that is what gives me sleep at night. When I see something that we started just as an idea. You remember this podcast? Yeah. Just as an idea. We had nothing. We had no mics.
Zero.
We had no seat. We did it in church.
Wow.
You remember that episode? You were not even wearing shoes.
Wow, Silas. Wow.
Tulifanya tu like that. Everything in that podcast was borrowed. Everything was borrowed.
And now.
Look at where we are now.
Started from the bottom.
Nothing is borrowed.
We started chilly. Look at to call the sponsors.
You see?
Yeah.
So I enjoy seeing that growth. Don't
Take
go and take debts to start businesses, because when you start a business, a business wanasemanga give it like 6 months, and I think from doing startups 6 months is very
not
little
enough. Yeah.
You can even give it 1 year ya kukula properly,
Because
getting into your pocket. How many times have I paid people from my pocket? Many times.
Yeah.
How many times have I gone looked at the book? Not that we are doing shoddy jobs, but
They're doing good jobs.
But you look at the books. The math
numbers.
is not mathing.
It's not mathing.
The liabilities and the expense as far outweigh the incomes.
Yeah.
That's why businesses collapse. Imagine you take a loan. Let's say you take 1 million shillings. You go start up your business. You need to set up. You use like 600,000-700,000 to set up. You have 300,000. You are negative what? 1 million. Ukianza. You're going to face challenges. You're probably going to close. Only take a loan if you're expanding an already existing business. I think that is it's good thing is we can share our experience. That is my experience.
Yeah.
If I was to tell anyone who's starting a business, don't ask people nichangie nianze business. Don't do that. Take money and what you do, expand a business. Loans or debts, and this is somewhere where our government, I think, is going wrong. Very wrong. Debt should be used for development. Take a debt, like for example, take a debt, have a venture that will generate money. By the way, there is a book I read and I recommend. It's called Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Kiyosaki, and just to put it on the point that money is not spent. Don't take debts on liabilities. You have to know, just hold that thought for me.
Okay.
You'll have to know the difference between an asset and a liability. I went to accounts school. I never learned the difference between an asset and a liability. I'll tell you for a fact. Until I read Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He explains it in very simple terms. He says, an asset is something that puts money in your pocket. A liability is something that takes money away from your pocket. So when you're making a decision, in school we learned that when we were doing the books of accounts, fixed assets, a car is considered an asset, a fixed asset. But a car depreciates
in value
very fast. By the way, if you go to a showroom, another thing you should not do, wachana zero mileage cars. Just buy used cars, the Japanese cars that we have. A car depreciates very quickly. You buy a car, you spend 6 months with it, you can never sell it anywhere near the price you bought it. Anywhere near. So if you look at it in terms of putting money in your pocket and taking money away from your pocket, would you define a car as an asset?
No,
it's not.
Because
Even fuel, it has expenses. Gari inakuitisha every day.
Maintenance. Service.
Every day. The minute you press that start button on your car, it's money going out. Let me give you another example that people in Kenya especially people from Central. Mugodane title. Mugodane title.
Wow.
Brotine title.
Funny.
And houses, building. Guys from Central are so big in building personal houses.
Yeah.
Now, there's a personal house. If I build a personal house, let's say I spend 8, 9, 10 million and do a house, do it very nice. Is it an asset or a liability?
It's a major
From
liability.
Robert Kiyosaki's definition of asset and liability. It's a liability because it's taking money away from your pocket. But if I built a house and rent it out,
that's an asset.
That's an asset. Why? Because every end of the month I get money. And I have friends who do that. They build houses, they rent it out, and then they leave that house and live in another house. This house pays for this house, and they still get some little money. So just know the difference between an asset and a liability. I see young people, especially young people, I almost made that mistakes, are very big on cars. Amen.
Wow.
The people you're trying to impress, lady and gentlemen, don't care. I'll look at you with your new car and I'll say, you have
And
a
you'll
new car.
congratulate them and be proud of
good
them.
thing, you have a good car.
Yeah.
And I move on with my life.
We don't care.
And I forget about it. You're left with the loan. You're left with the fuel
Fueling.
expenses. You're left with the maintenance. Let me tell you, maintaining a car is not purchasing. You can afford 3 million to go and get a car. You can get 4-5 million, go get a Benz. But are you able to keep it?
Maintain it, yeah.
There's some cars that requires you to have something we call disposable income. You have some 2 million lying somewhere that you're not using. Yeah, just in case you get into an accident, you can be able to repair. Do you know there are guys who, the cars they drive, I had a friend who has a VW, I'll not tell you which one. Aliweka juu ya mawe.
What do you mean?
This VW had a problem in the engine. The amount of money aliitishwa. He told me, Silas, I'm not repairing this car. He went and packed it. Akaona hizo tires zitaibiwa, akazitoa, akaziekelea juu ya mawe.
Oh no. Maintaining a car.
He got to a point he was telling me to sell me that car. I told him no. Don't want it.
Kama inamsumbua surely. Anataka kukuuzia na shida.
Yes. Know the difference between an asset and liability. Yeah.
And debt.
And debt.
Do not take a debt, a loan to
and
service
debt,
whatever.
Another myth is that debt is a bad thing.
Let's talk about debt.
Debt is not a bad thing, by the way.
I personally hate debt.
Yes, and I know, but I know at some point you love it.
Yeah.
I know at some point you love it. When you get into business, when you become a business person, you'll know the benefits of debt. Let me give you a typical example.
Yeah.
You have a school. And in that school requires a school bus. A school bus, a typical 33-seater, is around 7.5 million Kenya shillings.
Okay.
So you have 7.5 million Kenya shillings in your bank. Let's say you have 10 million. Would you, in your right senses, withdraw 7.5 million shillings out of 10 and go buy a bus?
No.
So what do? You go to the bank, approach that bank with your bank account reading 10 million, and you tell them, I want a loan of 7.5 million. They'll tell you to put a deposit. Let's say you'll put a deposit of around 2 million. You take that 2 million from your 10 million, you put a deposit for the bus, you still have 8 million shillings, isn't it?
Yeah.
You'll get the bus, you'll do the stuff, you'll still be liquid.
Yeah.
And then you pay it pole because this is a depreciating asset. It's depreciating. You don't need to tie a lot of soldiers in something that is going down. So you do that. It's called leveraging debt.
Leveraging.
Yes. You then that 8,000 that you're left with, 8 million,
yeah.
that you left it in your account. Why don't you develop? Why don't you do a venture that can generate? If I have 1 million in my bank account, I can borrow against that 1 million. I can borrow another 1 million, and then do a development. Do a development that can pay me money that would go towards paying this debt. That's how you use debt. So debt is only used for development. Okay. Use it for development. Don't take debt to pay salaries. To buy stuff. Do you know I've ever taken debt and bought seats for my house and a fridge?
Ulichukua loan kunini? Kulipa.
Forgive me.
Ulichukua loan kununua viti?
I took a loan from a SACCO in my former employment, and I saw some seats that I really wanted and a fridge. And I went and I bought those seats, I bought the fridge, I bought a TV, I bought what? Not that I didn't have a TV.
Hapo ndo uliingia CRB.
Not that I didn't have a seat. I had seats. But I took a loan. That was the most painful experience. Paying that loan back was the most painful experience I've ever. Uski kulipa. You've already gotten the goods. Actually, ukikana hii kiti leo when it's new in your house, after 2 weeks
like,
max, you'll not like it anymore. So imagine now, you'll hate paying against it. That's how people default. That's how people default on whatever. Yeah.
Okay. I know you have kids, and I know there's some very many mistakes you do not want them to make with money when they grow up. So how important is it for you to teach your kids their relationship with money, and how are you teaching them how to relate with money as early as right now?
I think for now, parents, what parents should really do is to start the budgeting process with children as early as possible. Jacob Aliet has written Unplugged, and one of the taglines is things our fathers did not teach us. We are conditioned so because we have not been taught otherwise. A person who grows or is born in an Islam country, in a country that the predominant religion is Islam, they will end up being Islam because they have been conditioned that way. So what you do, you start small. For example, giving them tasks and earning money against the tasks that you have given them. Yeah, like for example, high schoolers. I think this should happen to people in high school. Let them wash their parents' cars. Wash the car, earn an amount. How much does a car wash charge for washing a car? It's 200 bob, 300 bob. So every time you wash my car, I write 300 bob. I write it. By the end, when you're opening school or when you're going back to school, I'll give you the amount that you've earned. I'll give you that amount.
Money.
And it doesn't matter how much. Kama umeosha pocket money imefika 10 or 20,000, I'll give you that money. And I'll either give you all of it or help you save it. But you'll still have that amount. So when you make this a practice, you know, a habit is a disease. When you keep doing something over and over again, you get that discipline. It becomes part of you. So we have to teach that discipline. We have to show guys that this is how you earn. Let people earn their money. Those of us who parent ladies, please teach your ladies to earn the money so that they don't sit down and get taken advantage of or depend on men for money. You see, teach them to earn that money because some of them, the reason why you have socialites who behave the way they behave is because that is the only way they have to get money. Some of them misuse their bodies to earn money. But if you and it's not easy to get money. If it was easy, everyone would be rich.
Trust.
By the way, do you know the statistics in this country? I was so shocked that says that less than 15% of this country citizens, taxpayers in this country earn less than 100,000.
Yeah, and it was actually 3% of people that paid more than 50,000. I think that was a statistic that was there last year. If I'm wrong, sorry, I'll confirm.
I think it is less than 15. Let's say 10%. If you earn 100,000 and above, you are in the top 10%. This country is a country of 50 million. Maybe the work, let's say 30 or 20 million people who are working. Imagine 10% of that.
That's sad.
Yes, it is sad. So once you teach people to earn money, I think this conversation can't end in this episode. You teach people how to earn money, then it will be.
And it's a discipline that should be there, instilled from a young age. See child labor. They're just working for their money. They earn it. The principle is not the money itself. It's earning it. Earn the hard way. I have done mjengo. I have sold plastics. I have washed Vitamba church. I'm being paid for that. I have pitched tents. I have done everything and everything. I've not died doing those things. So you've worked for the money.
Work for it. Earn it. However small it is.